So, guys, yesterday we knew about what's a spoofing attack and what's like MAC address flooding. Those things we had understood yesterday. And today we are going to do a practical of MAC address flooding. Okay. So, now let's say, for example, we'll see actually how exactly you will be implementing a port security. How many of you have seen a practical of port security? Okay. So basically, port security when it is required, if there is a MAC address flooding, for example, if multiple MAC addresses are in your switch, then how would you prevent yourself? Let's create one topology, and according to that, we'll be doing a configuration for a port security. Guys, yesterday we had already done the practical, like why do we need a port security? Okay, to overcome the issues like MAC address flooding in our switch environment we need a port security, right? Let's say if I have a switch, in this switch, I have multiple devices connected. I have a server and I have two clients connected. Now, let's say this is a port. In this port, I'll have an attacker connection and the genuine guy connection as well. So, for example, this is wherein one server is connected and there is an interface. Let's say this is G0 by 0 interface. Another one is G0 by 1 interface. And at this interface, a genuine guy will be connected. But there might be an attacker also connecting sometimes when the genuine guy is not connected. Okay. So let's say here I have a PC, and this is a PC of a genuine guy who is not an attacker actually. When this guy is not connected at this particular port of the switch, might be someone else is coming and trying to connect at this particular port to perform the attack. So basically, I need two PCs. Okay. One is a genuine guy. Let's say this is Sam, and the other guy is attacker. Okay. And this is our internal server whose IP address will be in a subnet like 10.11.11.0/24. We have a subnet. And here on the server, I'll take .1 as an IP. This is my switch. These are attackers and the genuine guys' IP addresses or the pieces in the same subnet. Let's say this is 5 and this is .6. So we are going to perform a attack and also going to see how exactly port security will be implemented on switch. So this is our task. To fulfill this task, what you guys can do, first of all, I'll turn on my VMware. I'll take EVNG. Let me log in and I'll create one topology. Uh, so this is one of your switch. Here I'll add one router, iOS. So this is my server. I'll connect it to a switch. And here I'll be connecting my switch with my management cloud. So let's say here I have a management cloud, and this is like connecting with your base devices. So I'll connect this with my base device, and this base device will be having like two devices. Here I'll have two PCs. I'll start like, let's take one PC. I need any PC, does not matter. It's a server, I mean, it's a Windows, any PCs. I just need a two PCs. Okay. Let me, I have a client one and a client two. So I'll take those PCs. So let's say I have two PCs here in my VMware, like client one, and I'll have client two. I have two PCs. One PC, I'll assume it as a attacker, another I'll assume it as a genuine guy. So this client one, I'll take it as a Sam, as a genuine guy, and client two, I'll take it as a attacker. Okay. Now on these PCs, I'll configure IP address from the respective subnet. Okay. So I kept in a bridge mode here, and I'll keep this PC also in a bridge mode. Okay. Let's come to our PC. Sorry, this server. Meanwhile, we'll assign IP address. Give me a minute, guys. I'll be back. I'll configure IP address on the server. Server is not still up. Okay, I'll come to this PC and I'll assign one of the IP. This is my client one PC, so I'll assign .5 as an IP. 10.11.11.5 with the subnet mask 24. I don't need to define any gateway. Or else if you want, you can define 10.11.11.1 as a gateway. I'll come to client 2. I'll assign IP address 10.11.11.6, subnet mask 24, 10.11.11.1 as a gateway. I'll try to ping each other. I'll say ping 10.11.11.5, and I can see I have a reachability. I'll configure router as a server. I'll say host name as a R1, interface G0 by 0 with what happened with the IP address 10.11.11.1, subnet mask 24, no shirt, exit. And I'll try to ping both the PCs like 10.11.11.1. Sorry, yeah, I pinged myself like .5 and .6. I have a reachability from both the clients. So this is like a client one PC, and the other one is client two PC who is going to act like an attacker. You guys can take a note of MAC address. On this switch, we might see MAC addresses. Let's say I'll take an access of this switch right now. Show MAC address table. Right now I can see this MAC addresses table. This is G0 by 1. This is G0 by 1, through which G0 by 1 I can see multiple MAC addresses are reflecting. At G0 by 0, this is a MAC address. This is the MAC address of your server. This is MAC address of my server. And I'll try to check what's a MAC address of this client one. EC8F. That's basically a MAC address. Let's take a note of this MAC addresses first. So this is EC8F, which indicates at G0 by 0. This is the port which is connecting on the switch for all my base machines. So this is my client one MAC address. And let me see client 2 pieces MAC address. So this is an IP address. MAC address is okay. MAC address is EF94, physical address EF94. I must see. Okay, EF94. This is MAC address. It shows on G0x1 interface itself. Okay, so currently this particular interface G0x1 knows both the MAC addresses. Okay, now I'm going to see that, see, right now it's proved that one interface can learn multiple MAC addresses. Correct? Did you guys see this? One interface can learn multiple MAC addresses. I can communicate with multiple MAC addresses through one particular interface. Correct? Okay. But my target is more than one MAC address. I'll assume it as a attack on the fire, means on the switch. I'll assume it as a violation. If you say so, uh, port security at the interface G0x1, by default, what do you see? Your port security is disabled. Nothing is enabled. You can see secure down. And by default, you can see the violation mode is shutdown. Right. And I can see maximum address that will get allowed is 1. Okay. And it shows you last VLAN. The attacker came from which VLAN and what was the MAC address. This is MAC address part and this is VLAN part. So currently no violations has occurred and even the port security is not enabled at the switch. So to enable the port security, first of all, you should know about the violations. How many types of violations are there, guys? On the port security, how many types of violations are there? What are those violations? So these are 3 violations. First of all, protect, restrict, and shutdown. What's the difference between them, guys? Are you aware of what's the difference between protect, restrict, and shutdown? Tell me, what's the difference? What's the difference between protect, restrict, and shutdown? Those who are aware of port security, they need to answer these questions. But yesterday I had told you guys to do some research on it. Shutdown means when violation occurs, port gets down. Okay, fine. Restrict blocks the generated locks, but protect just block only. Okay. What kind of blocking you have seen, Pavan? Such type of reasons if you'll never get selected.
Protect doesn't generate syslog messages.
Correct. See, if I talk about the protect, block and generates lock. Okay. Restrict, like not only a restrict, even the shutdown and restrict both creates the logs. It generates the logs. It also shows you the counter messages. How many times the counter attack has happened, right? And also it actually, see, when you talk about the restrict, in protect, if we connect other devices, the frame will be dropped and the original PC connects, the port automatically comes up. Here the logs are available. Okay. See, Arvind, the major problem in the protect violation is it does not generate any logs. Okay. Any violation when it occurs, that time the logs are not generated. And you do have limitations with the port security numbers. Okay. In a protect, whenever any violation occurs, it does not generate any logs. That's a major problem. What Pavan told, that is correct in the sense like when protect is basically used. See, it's not like a blocking, guys. It does not block, it restricts. I'm like, it drops the packet. Have you seen something like they blocked it for 30 seconds, they blocked it for 40 seconds like that, or for 3 hours or something like 1 hour? It basically drops the packet, not a blocking. Don't use those terms like a blocking. And there is, okay, there is a limitations in the the protect violation. So it's not like like you will get access to, or say in a real time, if I talk about, we don't really use a protective violation. Like it has 5 hosts that you can allow per port in protect, I guess. Okay, five MAC addresses, not more than that. And it does not allow the, or does not generate the logs for the violations, or does not have the counts for the violations in the protect violation. Okay, so in a real time we don't actually use protect. We use either restrict or we use shutdown. The default violation which is defined in the port security at the interface is shutdown. You guys can see here, by default it's shut down, and you can see the number of MAC addresses allowed it is by default only one, not more than one. Okay, and last I can see the violation counts also. I actually, it's not generated here, but you can see the violation counts also in the case when the violation is shut down or they restrict. Now in a real time, either you will see restrict or a shutdown. In a restrict, what happens, the guy who is actual or genuine guy who is actually allowed it will only get access. Rest any other guys, when they try to perform the attack or tries to connect it through that particular interface, will get restricted. Restricted in the sense their packets will get dropped. Okay, see, there is a huge difference between the action drop, reset, and block. What you guys do, in general, you use the same terms for everything. Don't do like that. Blocking means it will be blocked for some time. Let's say, for example, let's say you're accessing a bank sites for 3 times. If you violate, you know, if there is a violation of a rule, like if you give a incorrect password, then you might be blocked for 24 hours, might be blocked for 12 hours, depending on the rules of your bank. That is basically called blocking. For a certain time period, you are blocked. Okay. Drop means what? The packet is hitting to the interface and packet is straight away dropped. Reset means what? You are trying to establish a connection and your connection is reset. Again, you try to establish, your connection is reset. Okay. In a reset, what is happening? You are often able to try the connection. You keep trying, your connection gets resetted. You keep trying, your connection gets resetted. That is reset. Right. Block, it completely blocks when you violate the rule for certain attempts. Drop means no matter how many tries you give, your packet will keep dropping. Are you guys getting my point? The difference between these actions? Okay. So when I talk about protect, we don't use it in a real time. No need to go for it. Restrict is like bot will not go down, but it will drop the violated packets or the unwanted packets or the attackers, whatever you need to say. The pot is not going down, but logs will be generated, counters will be shown, how many types, how many times the attacker tried performing attack and what was the last VLAN through which the attacker tried performing the attack. Those things you guys can see here. In shutdown, what happens if any violation occurs? Your interface will go down. Okay, it will go down and it will go in the error disable state. Your port will go in error disable state. This is one of the error state of the interface. So whenever any violation occurs in a shutdown mode, if you have kept the violation mode as a shutdown, and if any attacker performs the attack, your interface will go in the error disable state. Error disable state means it's basically one of the state of the interface that's basically called the error disable state. In that case, your interface goes down, but your interface is not administratively down. Administratively down means it will show you it's completely down. Okay, but when it is an error disable state, it's not completely down, it's not administratively down, but your protocol will show you down. Okay, so basically that interface is in down state, any communications will not happen. So guys, how do you come out of the error disable state in the shutdown violation mode? How do you come out of that? You have to manually tell shut and no shut, then the interface will come up. Is there any other way?
You can put automatic recover time also.
Error disable recovery mode will set,
Yeah,
right? Error disable recovery mode, if we set, then what's by default timer given to recover the interface?
you can do for 5 minutes, 30 seconds to 5 minutes.
It's 5 minutes. Okay, 30 second is minimum that you can set. Default is 5 minutes for error disable recovery. Okay, we'll see. In a switch, right now there is no port security. If you guys say so, port security, if you press enter, at any interface, if you have implemented port security, it will show you. The limitation of MAC address is 4096 as a total MAC addresses that will be stored in the CAM table of your switch. But I want a limitation at this particular interface. I don't want the tons of MAC addresses to get into a switch and store in the CAM table. I don't want the switch spoofing to happen. Sorry, MAC address flooding to happen. Okay. I don't want my switch to act like a dummy hub. So I want to limit the MAC address. So this is a port wherein multiple attacks might happen. So let's go and create. Okay, before I create the port security, one more question. In how many ways your port can understand the MAC address or learn the MAC address? In
So
port security,
dynamic,
dynamic
static, and
and
sticky mode.
sticky mode. So we have a static, a dynamic, and a sticky. There are three modes through which it can learn the MAC address. I've also created the document on that, guys. You guys can see that. So here you can see like the port security to rescue. You can see like you can learn the MAC addresses like dynamic way, static way, or sticky. What's the difference between dynamic, static, and sticky? Dynamic means it will learn the MAC address whoever comes first at the interface. Dynamically can be any MAC address. First come first will get learned by your MAC address, means your switch at the particular interface, and it will get flushed out when you'll restart your switch. Or let's say there's a dynamic entry whenever it is flushed out. After that only it will learn the another MAC address. Sticky means what? First come first MAC address means initial the state will be dynamic, but once any MAC address gets sticked to that particular interface, it will set it as a static. Means initially while learning the MAC address, sorry, in a sticky I'm saying, in a sticky what happens whenever the MAC address basically that interface learns, before it learns a MAC address, the state is dynamic. If you see, so MAC address table. Right now, what do you see? All the interfaces are in a dynamic type. Dynamic, dynamic, dynamic. So this is how it will be in a dynamic. Later on, what happens when you set the MAC address, method of learning as a sticky, it will learn the first MAC address and that interface will show you as a static. Later on, it will show you static. So that's basically a meaning of a sticky. So basically, the first MAC address which gets stick to the interface will remain sticked until you restart your switch. Static means what? Static is just like manually you configure only this MAC address. That's basically static. So these are the three ways of learning the MAC address. Okay. And before configuring the switch port security, make sure that port mode is in access mode. If your port is not in access mode, then your port security can't be configured. Now, if I go to a switch, interface G0 by 1, I'll say switch port security, and I'll press enter. What does it say? Command got rejected because currently it's a dynamic port. Okay. So I need to say switch port mode access, right? And then I'll say switch port security. You can see this command gets accepted. Make sure that you have the port in the access mode. See, when I say switch port security, then what happened? The port security violation occurred. Okay. Now let's say so port security. If I see port security, at which interface port security has been applied? At G0 by 1. One counter I can see, action shutdown. So I'll see show port security at the interface G0 by 1. And I can see only one MAC address is allowed, and this MAC address has been taken as a attacker MAC address, last seen MAC address. So 8F, let's see. Okay. So basically this has taken as the attacker. So this is like an attacker. I didn't set it, automatically taken. Okay. So right now, if I see, so interface status, I can see my interface has gone in error disable state, and this is the MAC address through which the one violation has been occurred, and it came from the VLAN 1. The last part is actually a VLAN part. It has come from the VLAN 1. So if I see, okay, if I come at the interface and if I try saying shut and no shut, just for meanwhile, what I'll do is I'll go to a client 1, and this client 1 PC, I'll try to suspend it. Client 1 suspended, only client 2 is there, and through client 2, if I try to communicate dot 1, I'm not able to communicate. The reason is the interface is in this error disable state. So what do? I go to the interface Z0 by 0, I'll make it shut, and I'll say, you can see, okay, see I said shut here. Now if you see do so IP interface brief, it will show you now it's administratively down. Sorry. See, right now I shut down the other interface. Oh, sorry, I shut down the wrong interface, guys. Wait. G0 by 0, I'll say no shut. I'll go to the interface G0 by 1. I'll say shut down. When I say shut down, and if I check, now you can see it's administratively down. Earlier, it was just showing me down, down. You can see it was just showing down, down. So it's not administratively down. Okay. So in that case, when you say administratively down and say no shut, and if you check, you can see this interface has come up now. And I'll go to a client PC, and through the client PC, if I try pinging R1, destination host unreachable. So IP interface brief. So interface status, it is fine. Let me go to a server. So IP interface brief. This is fine. I'll try to ping 10.11.11.6 IP. I'm able to ping. I'll go to a client PC and try to ping .1. I'm able to ping. And currently, if you go to the switch, and on the switch, if you say so MAC address table, you can see at port G0 by 1, at port G0 by 1, this was the MAC address which was actually stored. Okay. This was the MAC address which was stored, and it got statically fixed. Okay. And if you see right now, again, I can see at the port 1, violation got occurred. Okay, let's see. So interface status, it went in the error disable state. Now who is the attacker? Let's see. So port security at this interface, you can see like 72E8 was the another MAC address. See, actually what happens here, my PC which is connected here at this interface, when I have connected with my base PC, my base PC is having multiple adapters. You guys can see here, my base PC is having multiple adapters. Like I have my Wi-Fi adapter. My Wi-Fi adapter MAC address is 12FE, and you can see other the adapters are also there. So might be randomly any packet might have been received here, right, and the violation got occurred. So right now if I see at the switch, this MAC address has received, okay, this MAC address has sent any packet, and your switch assumed it was a kind of attack. So no matter what MAC address comes, I just took an example of one of the MAC address. Now this was a MAC address that came up right now. I mean, like that heated my switch interface Z0 by 0, and my interface went into the error disable state. It went in the error disable state. Who is a genuine guy who is actually allowed it? If you say port security, if you say so MAC address table, right now the MAC address, I mean, like that interface information itself has gone from here. I'll go to the interface Z0 by 1, and I'll say shut, and I'll say no shut. Now if you see so MAC address, right now no one has communicated. If I try to communicate from the client to PC, sometimes my PC firewall also might create a issue. So I'll try to ping from server. It is communicating. And if you go to the server, I'm like client PC, and try to ping server, it's communicating. And if I come to a switch, so MAC address table, you can see the MAC address of that PC 94. You can see this client to PC MAC address is matching. And it got this MAC address while we set the port security. That time it has learned that particular MAC address. So right now you can see your interface is not going inside the error disable state. So right now you see internet, interface status, it looks good. Again, a violation got occurred. Some other MAC address might have heated. Okay. So this is just an example for you guys to see how MAC address violations are happening, how port securities are working. Now this is a guy who hit it again with some MAC address. So I do have multiple adapters. I hope you are understanding what I'm saying. See how many times the encounter happened. Guys, are you understanding from where this MAC address is coming? It can be from any PCs, I mean, like any adapters by default getting generated any MAC addresses. So don't think like why the client one's MAC address is not hitting. It's not, that thing. Here, actually, I have multiple hosts in my base PC from where multiple packets are getting generated. So your interface is getting in the, or you can say the violation is getting occurred. Now from this PC also, I might try to communicate to a server, pinging 10.11.11.1, right? If I come to port security, okay. So right now your violation hasn't occurred. I mean, like violation has already occurred, not through this PC, but through other MAC address of my PC. Violation has already occurred. I want to set the recovery. Right now, you have to go for auto recovery. If you say so interface status, your interface is in error disable state and not coming up. So I want my interface to come out of the error disable state. So you have to say error disable recovery question mark. You have to define the cause first of all. What's a cause? You have to say p secure violation. Okay, say p secure violation and press enter. And again you will say error disable. Hold on. So error disable recovery. If you give this command, here you can see P secure got enabled. This got enabled. This wasn't enabled when I hadn't given this command. If I say no to this, and if you come to, yeah, if you check, you'll see P secure violation is disabled by default. So for auto recovery, first of all, you have to enable P secure violation. And after that, you have to set error disable recovery interval, press the question mark. You can see minimum 30, 30 seconds you can give, or maximum you can give 24 hours. And if you say, so if you say, so error disable recovery, press enter, you will see at last that by default timer has 300 seconds. That's your 5 minutes. Okay. So I can come here and I can set interval for 30 seconds minimum. So now if I come here and if I say show error disable recovery, you can see your time has set to 30 seconds now. Now just wait and watch your interface, which was in error disable state. So interface status, which was in error disable state, should come up or should try to come up in 30 seconds. Interface G0 by 1. Let me make it shut, no shut once. And here I can see, so interface status, it is up. I'll go to my server and try to ping my client. I'm able to ping my server. And right now might be some other attacker's packet also has come. So there is an error disable state. So interface, or let's say so port security, interface G0 by 1. I can see again the MAC address. This guy is has performed the attack. So I can see the violation has occurred. And again, I can see attempting to recover has enabled automatically P secure violation error disable state. It's coming up, right? And if I see so interface status, right now your interface has again come up, right? And if I say so interface, so MAC address table, I can see that any packet hasn't passed. I'll try to send the packet from this client PC. I can communicate. Everything is working fine. So whenever I'm trying to communicate through my PC, actually two packets are coming, one from the other attacker's MAC address and one from the real guy. So when the packet is coming from real guy, he is able to ping, means my client 2 is able to ping. And if you say so port security, this guy, now this time it's my Wi-Fi adapter's MAC address. If you see, this time the packet came from my Wi-Fi adapter's MAC address. So no matter either I'm performing the attack from my client 1 PC or anyone, does not matter. You can see 12FE. This is my Wi-Fi adapter, and you can see 12FE. So no matter from where the MAC address is coming from, if that violates the rule, it will be assumed as a violation. So if I say so interface status, now it has already recovered in 30 seconds. It has already come up. Guys, did you understand the violation here? Did you understand the shutdown recovery and all? Okay. Now, if you guys go to interface and change the violation mode, okay, Now let's say I'll go to interface Z0 by 1. I'll say switch port security. And if I want to define the violation manually, if I go for violation restrict, in restrict, what will happen? Your interface will remain up. Okay. So interface status, it will always remain up. It won't go in the error disable state. So MAC address table. uh, Let me try to communicate with client to PC. I'm able to communicate and it's working. And if I come to a switch and say switch port security, right now I can see this is a MAC address of what? This is my last source MAC address, and this is EF94. EF94 means EF94 means this was the guy's MAC address which was seen at the interface last, and even that guy is only able to communicate. Okay, that guy is only able to communicate. And how many MAC addresses are allowed? Only one MAC address. I can see the logs getting generated for different types, different times the violations are getting occurred at the interface. And these are the MAC addresses. This is my Wi-Fi. This can be other one. So different MAC addresses, the MAC addresses are hitting at the interface. If you see port security here, you can see this was the last seen MAC address. Now, is it matching here? You can see this guy's request is coming. Some packets are coming at this interface and which is encountered as a violation. So I can see my communication is not getting affected. My client too is always communicating, does not get affected. My interface does not go in the error disable state. But when the violations are occurring, I can see the counters getting increased here. I can see the last seen MAC address, and even I can see it is coming from which VLAN. See, counters are getting increased. MAC addresses I can easily filter. So this way I can limit the number of MAC addresses. In real time, at the layer 2 security, you can implement port security to limit the MAC address, or you guys can implement one more security. Tell me, guys, what's that security that you can limit the MAC addresses to get a access in the network? Are you aware of it? You might be aware of it, but you might not be able to tell me right now. MAB authentication based on the MAC address through the ICE device, Identity Service Engine, AAA server. So even ICE can be used to protect your network, or you can only allow limited MAC addresses. So MAC-based access also can be controlled by your AAA server. Okay, but without AAA server at layer 2, this is the security that you can implement. Okay, overall, guys, am I clear with port security? Okay, one last thing I would like to show, I forgot to show you. Inside of port security, interface G0 by 1, switch port security, if you press the question mark, you guys can go with the violation types, or you can go with the maximum addresses that you want to allow. You can allow up to these many MAC addresses to a particular interface. By default, only one MAC address is allowed. If you want to allow two, you can do that. If you do this, you can see. So port security, interface Z0 by 1, I can see total two MAC addresses will be allowed right now. So first come first two MAC addresses will be stored. That always happens when you do more practicals. So that was like total number of MAC addresses. How can you see? I can see now two MAC addresses getting allowed. How MAC addresses will learn? Yeah, you can give access to a particular MAC address. You can say interface Z0 by 1. You can say switch port security, and you can say MAC address. And you can say MAC address. How do you learn? You can define the 48 bits MAC address over here. So if you want to give an access to any particular MAC address. Let's say I want to give an access to any one of the MAC address. Or anything, let's say my Wi-Fi adapter. This is my MAC address, right? If I put this MAC address, I can put it. Found the duplicate address. It was stored. I have to clear the CAM table. Okay. Or this might have taken. Okay. So I can take another MAC address also. Does not matter. Let's say this is a MAC address. So total limitation of a MAC address has already exceeded. Okay, it means we had given two MAC addresses. Two MAC addresses has been already stored. So if I say so interface status, so or no, so say so MAC address table. You can see at this interface Z0 by 1, two MAC addresses has been statically stored. So at this interface, so port security interface G0 by 1, if you see, I can store only two MAC addresses. So two MAC addresses has been already stored. Okay. So third is not accepting. If you want third to get accepted, you can give that command, and you can first of all increase the number of MAC address over here, right? And you can give that command, it will get stored. Is that clear? Fez, is that clear? Okay. And if you want to learn any MAC addresses, statically, uh, that was the way you could do. MAC address, if you say, you can either go with the sticky or you go with the forbidden. Okay, so this is basically the ways you can put the MAC addresses. Okay, so interface status. So currently I can see it's not going. So port security interface is 0 by 1. I can see my current violation mode is restrict. It's enable, it's up. If you see port security down, understand your port security will never work. These two things should be always enabled and up. Okay. Fine, guys. So we are done with our port security class today. Tomorrow we'll see a VLAN attack. Okay. We'll see tomorrow what's basically a VLAN attack, how VLAN attacks are happening. At layer 2 switch, what type of VLAN attacks are possible. We'll see like double tagging. We'll see like switch spoofing type of attacks tomorrow. Okay. We'll also perform the live attack with Kali Linux tomorrow, and we'll see. Okay. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.